Hey, welcome to another episode of the Life of Elvis podcast. I'm your host Elvis, and today with me is once again Marni Ratner, because just like last year, when she came over, we had some technical difficulties and, we ran out of time. So we're doing it in two parts once again. So if you haven't seen the previous episodes, they're going to be down in the description or in a pinned comment. So go check them out. Hey, welcome back. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I laughed because the second we went live, we started taping, there was a flicker. But I'm like, wow. You know what, Elvis? It's just we have an incredible amount of energy. It crosses the ocean, it mixes, and it sends up these, our own version of Northern Lights. I don't know. What could it be?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Freaky weird. Nobody else. Anywho. But I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Just worked out and everything, so all good.
Well, here we are trying this. So this technically is our fourth podcast together. I think that really makes me your favorite guest.
Very much.
Well, to all of you people who listen to this crap that we talk about, may this find you well.
Nah, it's good stuff we're talking about here.
It's good.
Yeah. So on the last episode, apart from many other things, we were talking about the Sixth Tibetan Rites.
Yeah.
And you just brought up a good point as we were talking before this recording. So go ahead.
Well, you sent me on a journey because it was really funny. It was really fun and funny. But when the teacher gets taught, I'm the expert of the Tibetan Rites, and you just had so much better information to share than I did. And I'm like, wow, did I do my centering practice this morning? Did I do the rites? It was my own little bit, a sprinkle of an imposter syndrome showed up where I'm like, wait. But instead I turned that frown upside down. I'm like, Elvis, man, you really are an untapped well of knowledge. And it's wide and it's vast. So I'm like, okay, send me the books you read. Send me the links on the Tibetan Rite. And I just went into a deep dive with them. And I spent a couple hours just re-emerging myself, reminding myself, and learning a whole bunch of things that I didn't know about the Tibetan Rites, which brought me to where I am today, which is we don't teach them right. We don't teach them well. I'm sure somebody out there does, but I don't. So They're kind of hard to grasp in their extreme simplicity. There is, in our modern brains, how we live in our modern world, it's hard for us to go so internal and on an energetic level to feel what the Tibetan Rites do. We're kind of numb to them. So this basic forward and backward neck movement, we're almost deaf to. So I'm excited that we get to talk deeper about them today because they have been a godsend to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what did you find out then?
I'll start at the very beginning. I was not putting any attention to the power of my neck position, the pumping. Yes, I was feeling that it was a close cousin to Kundalini and Tantra, that some of the movements gave me the same sensibility, but I was still looking for something external, something super energetic outside myself that I don't do when I was doing Kundalini. So the second you reminded me that, but that's so much a part of the spinal column. That is so much one of the pumps that you learn in Kundalini, that the second I put my attention back to my neck, the experience felt different. I felt more empowered and I felt more connected. And another thing is I was teaching my students that if they could, to keep their eyes open, because I was adding a little kind of trauma therapy and EMDR to it. Like if I could focus as I move, that I would gain so much benefit from being able to use my eyes, taking it out of this meditative place. The second I reinvested to closing my eyes, it was indulgent. I found the rites to be very indulgent. In the best way. In the best way.
Of course.
more private time, not hard work, just private. And I hate sitting and meditating, so works for me.
Do you?
Yeah. I'm a good breather, and so that's my meditation. I'm a very good breather. I have a pretty consistent breath practice, and as you and I both talked last time, is we both add breath to our Tibetan rites. And you do, the vacuum suction, which is also Kundalini and Tantra. And I do something more Tumo, just more active breath. But I really, since we had that conversation, I have tried more to bring in all my energy through my belly and my navel, sucking in, then blowing out my chest, and just feeling the woo, the swirl, the whirl. It's fun. I'm learning. I don't like to sit there and meditate. I like to go internal. I need this modern overactive brain needs a little more to pull me down energetically, pull me in.
Well, at the end of the day, meditation is not about sitting still. That's just practice.
Correct.
Meditation should then spread out into the rest of your life, and you're doing your job, you're washing potatoes, or whatever you do, you go for a walk, you meditate whilst you do that. And you're not doing it on top of what you're doing. It's just you being properly immersed into it.
You are absolutely 100% completely accurate, and why we do it in the first place is to make our lives better and our lives easier to deal with. So, indeed, that is the exact reason why I don't. Not that I wouldn't benefit. It's not that most people wouldn't benefit from really trying to sit still for a while so you can get information about yourself. Where am I today? How frenetic am I today? How many squirrels have I seen run through my brain in the last 5 minutes? I mean, we all benefit from it. But you're right. The long game, the outcome of meditation is to be able to, well, for many reasons, but to control and be in action with our own nervous system, where we're the driver of what's happening in our lives. Or we can recoup when something crazy happens to us, that we can bring ourselves back to center and then proceed through our day. I mean, that is meditation and mindfulness. That's why we do what we do. We want to know why we're doing what we're doing. So thank you for pointing that out. Wouldn't you say, in your own experience, it's probably the hardest, one of those first questions people say or ask, I can't meditate. I can't do it.
Or I don't have time for it, or whatever excuse there is.
I'm bad at it.
Yeah. You can't.
Like, you can't be bad.
You can't be bad at it. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, everything can be a meditation, really.
Yeah.
Like normal mundane stuff that you do during the day, or even things like the Sixth Tibetans, whatever.
Okay. That is definitely meditation. But I would argue, as long as we're being so specific with how we're explaining things, I would argue, I'm not saying I'm right, but my inclination to say is not anything is meditation. Anything could be if we created it into meditation. Mowing the lawn could be meditative, but at the same time, I need to be pretty aware of where I'm at, or I could have some danger. I could be dangerous. It certainly could be mindful, like really taking everything in and experiencing life through the act of mowing the lawn. I mean, this is nuance. This is wordplay. But what I was trying to get to is there is a difference between meditation and flow. So something like mowing the lawn, you can go into flow, lose time, and just get into the rotation and the motion, the forward motion of mowing the lawn. I don't know why I picked mowing the lawn, but I've heard somebody say that before. Mowing the lawn is my meditation. It's also a pace of flow. Like, where do you come up with your best ideas? Where do you go into flow? Is that in meditation or in action?
That's a good question. It's hard for me to pinpoint, like, where do I get the best ideas, or most of them. Because many times they just pop up very randomly, to be honest. Like, for example, if I've got something to do, something creative, like writing a book or making some music, I know that if I sit long enough in front of it, the ideas will come eventually, you know?
That's so interesting. This is not my process. Not at all. No.
I don't know, it just works like that for me, and where those ideas come from, I have no idea. But sometimes it's totally random, you know? I do something and suddenly just, hey, we can do this, or, you know, whatever it is.
Well, I would challenge...
It's hard to tell.
I would challenge you to pay attention, because my gut says and that is partly true, but also a lack of awareness, because I'll give you an example. And I'm trying to inspire you, because you write amazing stuff. Mm-hmm. You're a great writer. You're a great musician. When those two come together, I don't know if you're following your followers or the people who are interested in you recognize how talented you are and how vast you are in skill set. But for me, because I'm a word player and I'm a deep feeler, and I mean literally deep feeler, I can feel things. It's not emotional. Mm-hmm. It can be emotional, but it doesn't have to be. Usually isn't, actually. But if somebody says something, if that word hits an emotion or an energy in me, I will go and have an entire, flow for hours, idea after idea after idea. I know how to string them together. I know what needs to happen. I create this whole world to give this idea a life. And sometimes I put them to rest because I don't have the energy to actually see them through. But to me, that is what flow is. That's where I get my best ideas from. Someone will say something, I will be physically in motion or in communication, like it'll be a conversation. So there's a tug and pull. And I'll be like, oh my God, that's such a great idea. And then literally it's like a file of facts. Do you know what a file of facts is?
What?
I'm aging myself. Yeah, it's where you have all your phone numbers and you can just alphabetize them. We have phones now. It's like my entire contact list shows up in front of my face. Like, here's everything I need to do. Like, I stick with it. I get hyper-focused. And that is when I'm in flow. Like, oh my God, I've created so much. But it's never random. I mean, the experience is random. But if I look back, it is in conversation with somebody, or I hear a lyric in a song. I'll just get an idea. To town. We go to town. I'm famous for directing videos in my head. Like, I can take a song and reinterpret it, and I literally will do the camera shots and who's in the video and where they talk and what's the point, and brings me to tears, and I'll be done walking my dog and go home and say, I'm done with that video. The world in Marni's head. That's why we do the Tibetan Rite.
Right.
So think about it.
Nice.
Think about it.
Yeah, I will.
What sparks you?
I'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So another thing about the Tibetan rites that I'm finding with my students, they truly, truly, like we were talking off camera, they want to interpret them in a way that works for them. And I keep thinking what I'm relearning or what I'm coming acquainted with is that to not figure out what they do, to really be with them. Kind of like maybe our discomfort was sitting quietly and meditating with nothing to do. That discomfort. I don't know about, you are not so, we are more alike than not alike, because we both like physical training and being very inquisitive. I don't find the Tibetan rites physically difficult. It's not a huge challenge.
Yeah, me neither.
But there are...
But for someone else, it's going to be, depends where you are, your fitness.
And I always say to them that's what's magical about them. It tells you exactly where you are physically that day. It's like taking your temperature or brushing your teeth. You don't wake up... Let's not use that analogy because that would be gross. It's like taking your temperature every day and there's just a degree off because of what you ate the day before. Your body's working differently. And so I find the Tibetan Rites a great way for me to say, here's how tight I am today. Here's how tired I am today. Here's how energized I am today. Here's how wacky I am today. And what I find pretty much every single time is I just feel better, more with myself, not transformed, but just more connected to myself after. And most importantly, and I think this is really the caveat to all of this, my body talks to me better. And I was trying to explain to my class yesterday, after a crazy August, that was last podcast, but after a crazy August and me trying to make sense of where I am in my world, in my life, my experiences, that I now am so invested in the rites that after a few bad nights of sleep, my body physically told me, which sounded like language, it wasn't my head, it was my body saying, you can't do this today. Shift your practice. So it wasn't me going, I don't wanna. And it wasn't me saying, can I muster up enough energy? I should just do it. It was my body literally shaking, knocking me off center, and literally giving me the thought, why don't you lie down and do them upside down? And that's an invaluable. That is, if we're going to go slide into a different place in our conversation, my intuition has been off the charts. My ability, I was not even say intuition, but yes, my ability to get into other people's spaces when I'm welcomed has been effortless. And the only thing that I can understand of why this is happening to me or for me or around me or with me, who knows, is that I'm so in tune to my physicality. I'm so in tune to my soma and all of my little hairs on the end of on my skin, and I'm so aware of every nerve ending in my body that I can make contact with, that I think that I can hear things that aren't being said.
Mm-hmm.
Can I give that to the Tibetan Rites? I don't know. Well, I don't know, but sure.
Possibly. Yeah. I'm sure also the breathwork and everything else, all the stuff helps. But in general, I mean, that is one of the points of doing these kinds of practices. Whether it's the Sixth Tibetan Rite, yoga, like actual classical yoga, Qigong, all that stuff. It brings you back, like you were saying, into a flow state, into a meditational state, into a present moment. And which is it brings you back into your body and to yourself, which is the opposite of what everything else in society does these days.
Yeah.
You see, when people have one moment when they for some reason they just sat there on their own, the first thing they do, they pull up their phone, and their attention goes somewhere outside of themselves. They're focusing on things that are outside, external things. And they don't pay as much attention what's going on inside. So like you were saying with your intuition, mine has been over the last year going like really high up, including stuff like dreams foretelling the future and stuff like that. It's becoming more often for me and stuff like that. But all this stuff, intuition, your gut feeling, it's very subtle. So if you're constantly preoccupied with stuff on TikTok or whatever's going on around you, you're not going to pay attention to it. You're not going to hear it because it just gets drowned out in the noise.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise.
Yeah, way too much.
Yeah. I feel like I say it to every student because I work with so many young people, and just the world experience and people's life experiences, and we are constantly asking them not to listen to themselves, and we're conditioning them. We're deeply conditioning them to not feel their feelings, and then we ask them to feel their feelings, or at least explain them, but be careful with what you say. So it's at the fault of nobody. I mean, it's nobody's fault, but Can you hear my dog? That was
I do.
Nightmare. He must be listening to what we're saying or singing a song. It could be an aria. Is this your music,
Maybe.
Elvis? Is he singing your song? Your metal band?
Close.
That's a keeper. Got to keep that in. So what I was saying is I feel like my students are really uncomfortable with their own discomfort. And so what they do is they shut down their body. They're tight. They're squeezing. They don't breathe correctly. They don't breathe deep. And then they come into my studio, and most of the students I work with are voice students, are kids who are learning to kids and teens and adults who are learning to express themselves with more fluidity and more ease and more flow. And if they can't feel themselves, if they don't know where they are in space, if they don't know what they're thinking, meaning they don't know what their skin is thinking, experiencing, it is really hard to communicate and sing from a place of authenticity and freedom. There's no body freedom. There's no body autonomy. So they can't be sovereign. It's very difficult. So we come and sing, and it becomes a different kind of emotional experience because it's restrictive. It feels restrictive. And I drill this down, I distill it all the way down to is anything that happens below the neck must be some kind of illness or discomfort. I mean, it's not that they don't feel excitement, but it's rare. It's rare. And
I can imagine.
Yeah. It's not a good place to be. So,
no, definitely not.
I deeply considered, and I actually have taught a few of my teen students the Tibetan Rites. And I say, I don't really know if this will help your singing, but it will certainly support your human being. And I'm sure they won't do them, but I kind of invite them to do 5 rotations, 5 reps. We always do the breathing. And I have not met a student that doesn't like breathing. I really haven't.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I've met grown-ups who don't give it any value. Even if I go into the scientific teachings, they're like, no, that's super interesting, but they won't do it. The teens and kids will. So I'm going to retract everything I said in that last segment. They certainly are attracted to their body feeling calm. They certainly are attracted to it. They just don't know how to do it. So when they feel breathing, they're like, this does feel good. Why wouldn't I choose when I'm in my bed at night and I can't sleep or I am having a nightmare? Gibson, just breathe. They do go to breath. At least that's what they report to me. That's what my students report to me. Interesting.
Yeah, it really is.
Working it out right now.
It's kind of an interesting insight, to be honest, into this generation.
Yeah.
What you just said there. Because everyone just keeps saying how messed up this generation is. But I think it's definitely some good potential there.
Oh, there's a lot of good. And, last year, this actually came up last year. I've been on a lot of podcasts, and most people ask to speak to me, or I speak to them about, morning practices, wellness, health, not a lot of wacky woo-woo stuff, wonderful wacky woo-woo stuff, but almost people are interested in how to be happy, clearly. This is the overall arching theme of what we're talking about today, is how to be in the pursuit of happiness and how to get that. And there's wonderful teachers who teach happiness, but I'm trying to show you how to be happy. So there's not one way. There's data and stats, but here's where we're missing what I'm saying. 90%, the vast majority of podcasts that I've been on, we have then slid into parenting and kids of this generation and who are they. So I really do think that's probably where my real expertise lies. And what you just said was so provocative to me, because I tell every parent that I work with, I tell every group that I speak to, and I write pretty much, you've read how I connect with my public, well, my viewers, whatever you want to call them. These kids are here on this earth to show us the way. These kids are evolving as fast as computers are evolving. And is there a lot of discomfort and difficulty? Absolutely. But these kids are not uninformed. They are not intrinsically messed up. They are evolving. We are watching humanity shift. And these kids are trying to connect words and thoughts because they're still being conditioned by their environment and conditioned by their parents' experiences. But they're tuned on a different level, going, something's amiss, something doesn't really work. So when they're not taught to be in their body, so when they have experiences in their body, it is profoundly effective for them. Sometimes it's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
In some rare situations, being in their body is truly terrifying. But for most of them, it's, oh, this is what calm feels like. Why can't I ever do this at school? Oh, this is what being internal feels like. Why am I being yelled at to go clean my room 15 times a day? Whatever it is. So yeah, I would challenge any grown-up and even any professional that says, I got the phone call yesterday, it's the iPhones. I said, well, the iPhone is a tool. It's also our best friend right now. It's not our worst enemy. Is it changing our children? Yes. For the better? I don't know. But it's not the iPhone. It's not the actual iPhone. It's the fact that our kids need escape. It's that our kids need a break.
Yeah.
It's complex. I don't want to oversimplify a very intense subject because arguably there are lots of scientific studies that say it is changing the brain. That there is real, we're chasing dopamine. So we don't, all the time. I mean, me too.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, you just brought up lots of good points. But I agree that, this generation, I think it started with somewhere in the late 80s with the kids that came, so I guess I'm part of that movement as well, to some extent. I saw it also like someone I knew was half my age, and it seems like you said, they see there's something wrong with how things work on planet, and it should be changed. Now the problem is when certain really crazy ideologies step in and tell them, okay, this is wrong because of this, right? And then they think, okay, this is the reason, but it's not really, and now they're serving someone else's agenda, so it can get hijacked. And with social media, yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, the iPhone, that's just a tool. You can use it, both. It's just like with a knife. You can stab someone, you can make a meal with it, right? But it's also a big problem is the way social media are engineered, because, it's big corporations who want to make money, who want your data, so they're going to make it as addictive as possible. And that's really not good. And no one's teaching kids how to actually properly use their phones and everything.
It requires a lot of attention and a lot of commitment, just like meditation. And everything that you say is so incredibly true. It's not a simple subject. And some of it was happenstance that they figured out, oh my gosh, this is what, again, it's not my field. The iPhone and technology is not my industry at all. And even though I've seen probably the same documentaries, read the same articles, been to the same lectures, I still see where, like, okay, I have a little bit of control here. That could also be my age speaking because I am, a generation older than you. That was an assumption, one, not of age, but two, also of experience. What do I know? But I feel really, really strongly that the biggest foul from the personal perspective of this technology and all of these technologies is it's lessened our experience and our ability to critically think. And the only way you can critically think is to put yourself into the critically thinking mindset and to question yourself on your own words, on your own information, and your own knowledge base. That is the only way that I think empirically one learns how to critically think is, what do I know? Why do I think I know what I know? Am I just saying, how many times? And this is what happens because of social media. We believe what it is that we're told, or we believe the stark contrast of what it is we're told, which is no different than why we follow our parents in religion or reject them. We're human species. This is how we do it. We do it with everything the same. So for the sake of being clear, I think the invention of the social media has diminished my ability to question authority. Even when I'm questioning authority, I am just looking for somebody else's information to prove my point or prove my thoughts. It's not any more educated than the other. So then you have to go into this real space of critical thinking. What am I hearing here? What sounds similar? What sounds dissimilar? Where are we getting this information? What does that make sense? Does that fit in history? Who's got the freaking time to go down those rabbit holes and not look for proof and evidence, but to look for information to think about? I hate to say it. I used to think that most people were pretty smart, but I think most people are pretty uneducated. They're very overly educated, not very intelligent. They don't use what the gifts they have.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
Your eyes froze in this
But
position. It was super funny. I was like, oh, Marni.
Right. It's tricky because I would say overall people have more wisdom than a lot of people give them credit for. You know, even someone who's, you know, on the wrong side of the bell curve, he can still act with lots of wisdom, right? But then, you know, yeah, there's a lot of people who just don't have enough information on certain subjects. All right, so final thoughts on the Sixth Tibetans. Either there's individual rites or the entire thing. Let's just do this before the technology entirely gives up on us.
Yes. Okay. So what would somebody want to know? Why should somebody do them? Why should somebody try? And I think the reason, I got a million reasons actually why people should try, is because creating a space for yourself in the morning or anytime during the day where you say, I'm just setting my neutral, I'm just setting myself up for a good day. I am using this time to remind myself of what I'm working on in life and what I want to gain out of life and where I want to be and how I want to feel. I'm going to make sure, it's just like I brush my teeth and I make my bed. There are things I want my body to be prepared for the rest of the day. And I think the Tibetan rites, unlike the other protocols, do a really beautiful job of telling our body exactly where we are and allowing our spine to pendiculate and to create power, create energy, turn on the circuits. And I know that when I want to walk out my door into the world, I want my circuits to be working. I want them to be clean, clear, and flowy. I think the Tibetan rites are masters for that. And a level of awareness that I have not found with anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Like all the reasons we mentioned before. Yeah. It's bringing you back into your body, making the energy in your body work properly, making you a bit stronger and more mobile. Mm-hmm. All those are really good reasons to do them. Mm-hmm. Might not be for everyone, but there's millions of other things one can try that will probably give you the same benefits. So, yeah, if that's for you, go for it. If not, just keep seeking.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's a deeper conversation. Is why. When I'm watching and when I'm learning and when I'm discovering about the Tibetan rites, there does seem to be the mystique that as people share, like I don't hear it in Qigong. They're like, this is Qigong. I mean, you've heard everything, by the way. I mean, there's obviously a wide, the way we communicate or share Qigong. But when people talk about the Tibetan rites, they almost go to this mystical expression of it when they're trying to share it. It's I find it fascinating. Like there's this secret, the magical.
Used to be.
Yeah, the eternal. It's the fountain. I mean, it's called the freaking fountain of youth. That's its claim to fame. Restoration slowing down. Oh, they have apparently studies or experiences, or well, let's call them stories. I don't know because I can't cite them. That people have regained height, that their gray hair has turned brown. I mean, they're rare. That they look younger. I feel younger. I do. I don't feel thinner, but I feel younger. I don't feel. I feel stronger-ish. I feel different. I feel. You know what? I'll use the right word. I feel more vital. A lot more vital.
And that's the point of them, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. And we didn't get into the whole idea of the vortexes because it was way over my head and there wasn't enough information. So the Tibetan Rites, even though it's in conjunction with the chakra line, it's also several other energy bodies of the world, of your body world, not the world, in your body, the world of your body. And if you believe in energetics, or if you even understand energetics, the chakras aren't solely responsible for your energy system. There's a lot of other lines in there. And this vortex, in combination with the chakras, kind of speak to that, how does energy get produced? What is the line of the body? You know, much more aligned with what is the word I'm looking for? I mean, it's I want to say it's closer to the vagus nerve, but the vagus nerve touches all of it. So much of your organs, all of your organs. But I'm looking for something very specific because it felt very accurate. Well, we'll skip it.
Always.
Too much information for people. Sometimes it's better to just experiencing things rather than explaining things. And I always invite people and ask people going, don't do the Tibetan Rites once, twice, 3 times. Do the Tibetan Rites for 6 weeks before you decide. Yeah,
these things, it's pretty much just like when you're working out. You have to do it consistently to actually see the results, not just once or twice. You will probably feel a little bit better after you do them anyway. But to get proper results, keep going.
Every person that I work with, every single one that has done the Tibetan Rites for a period of time, consistently say it's a keeper. It's the ones who do it 5 days in a row. I'm done. The ones who, oh my gosh, I made it up to 8 rotations and I don't feel anything different. I don't know about you, but when I do a lot of rotations, like, you know, when I get up into the teens, the upper teens, and I have a bad day and I just do 5, my body instantly feels better. That I can say with 100% accuracy for me. If I just can't get myself through it and I do 5, it's great. And again, we've talked about this in many other episodes in so many different ways. I don't do the exact same practice every day. It's not a foul on me. My body's telling me what to do. It's cool. You know, that's great to be able to know yourself so well. To know yourselves so well. It's cool.
That should be the goal, to really having to rely only on your intuition and your feelings.
Yeah.
And let your body actually tell you what it needs.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why teaching's so hard. Because those sentences like, your body's going to teach you what it needs, and we don't have any language understanding. It's like we're speaking Greek if you don't speak Greek. You could speak Greek, Elvis. You speak a lot of things. But it's like if someone
not Greek.
Okay, so if someone was speaking Greek, you it makes sense that that's a Greek language, but I don't know how to decipher it or interpret it. It's kind of a shame we don't know our own bodies. We don't know. And it shows up for me, at least in me, in pulses and in sensations. Temperatures and response. Impulse and response. It's not words and it's not emotions. That's my mind working. My body can't do it without my body. But hard to teach. So you have to experience, you have to buy in, and you have, just like we were talking about the stuff that the universe won't let us talk about right now, you have to look for yourself, you have to try with yourself and make your own understanding with yourself, and let what you empirically research, you empirically discover in your own experience. How many times can I say that? and then bounce that off other people's experiences and hold your findings as truth. What a cool world that would be.
Yeah, it sure will be.
Yeah. And if we could coexist, dang, it all comes back to Tibetan rites. So this helps us coexist better. And it's so funny because the basis of the Tibetan rites, from my understanding, and I've heard it so many times, is that the Tibetans, the monks, were really just trying to speed up their process so they could get to work. So they could meditate. Yeah, they were like, let's take these 5 asanas and meditate, do it together, and just get moving. Let's just go about our day. This staring at a wall for 5 hours kind of sucks. And then trying to go doing these sitting breathing postures, what if we get up and just move it a little bit? I am going to be prepared to go do my tasks for the day, my jobs.
Right.
So no different than today.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I maybe I have a weird take on it, but I thought it sounded right to me. My understanding is that the fountain of youth, them finding out it was the fountain of youth, was happenstance. I don't think it was. Mm-hmm. And then this rabbit hole, never mind. But why they showed up again is a different experience. Why they showed up in our, whenever that book was written, who he was speaking of, his dynamic image for writing about. Save Me Right Now. What book are we talking about? The story, the guy who wrote the story.
Peter Kelder?
Yes. So the story of the monk going in, going away, coming back younger. Where did he go?
Okay.
That's what brought it back into our awareness of, there's this thing called Tibetan rites. But the historians are saying, when the Tibetans created what the rites were, their intention wasn't vitality. Their intention was economics. Let's get up. Let's go. Let's move. Let's be ready. We sit on our ass all day. Let's get up. Stop meditating. Practical.
It's kind of similar, but also with some of the forms of Qigong. I've seen you one of those books, Sishui and Ichin Qigong, of basically when the first patriarch of Zen Buddhism, when he came from India to China, obviously the emperor didn't like him, so he went to a Shaolin temple.
Yeah.
They didn't like his teaching there either, so he went for 9 years into a cave to meditate there. And when he came back, he brought these 2 books with him.
Wow.
That he wrote, I Ching Ching and Xi Ching, which is 2 different kinds of Qigong, which he then created for them, because they were also just meditating all day. They were weak and not healthy at all. So he created this stuff, and that eventually led to all those Shaolin Kung Fu styles and multiple styles of Qigong as well.
I mean,
similar.
So we're just really doing the same thing this day, reinventing every lineage to suit our needs, to get people to do what we want them to do. Oh gosh, maybe humanity has never progressed. The human condition remains live in Qigong.
Yeah.
Man.
But again, it's so interesting. I always come back to this. It's all these things, they were secret at one point in the past. All these, these Taoistic techniques they were talking about in the previous episode. Even the Qigong methods I just mentioned. Now we're talking about no big deal. You can pick up a book in a bookstore or online about it. But it wasn't like that before, and it just emerged just at the moment of time when we needed it the most.
Yeah, but again, it's a completely different topic, but so wonderful, deep, and rich, is unless somebody brings you that book, or unless if you are called to that book and you have nobody to share that technology or technique with after reading the book, it doesn't have the life. So yes, somebody brought it back to right when we needed it, but it's just taking so long, and it's so difficult because there's so many applications out there. There's so many different things out there to trust. Maybe I'm using the word thinking I'm going to trust. That's like, okay, how many Qigongs do we have? How many versions of religion do we have? How many different forms of yoga do we have? Why are we reinventing when we have a full vocabulary available to us? Why are we in the constant search and we don't trust what we have? I think that, you know what? Thank you, Elvis. I think I just got to the end of my story. The best part of my story, my private coach, my teacher, my sensei always says is, Marni, what the world needs right now is for you to embody everything you've ever learned and just do it. You don't have to understand any of it. Other people need to understand, I think. I think you and I understand too much. It's part of our dysfunction. It's part of the enlightenment has a little bit of dysfunction because you can't be enlightened with a lot of depth without the depth holding you down, holding you grounded. That duality. So maybe with this influx of information and things to look for and constantly search, is we still never land. So what if we just took everything we already knew and everything we're talking about, using all the similarities, the practicum of it all. Go internal, feel our body, know our body. Our body doesn't use words, so we don't have to read words. Just it tells us in clicks, beats, thumps, and response. And really paid attention to that and shared ourselves better. Mm-hmm. That might sound like complete and utter nonsense, but I know there are no words to explain. In my mind, there's no word, my life work, there's no word to explain what the body can feel if it really understood what it was sensing. Maybe that's why they're called senseis. I don't know.
At the end of the day, life is about about the experience of it, not about. It's not a problem to solve. It's not something you need to intellectually figure out.
Beautiful.
And one thing, that's the thing, that the Western civilization is way too focused on thinking.
Yeah.
And the thoughts are very limited. They're always based on what's on the past, on what you know.
Yeah.
But there's so much you don't know.
Yeah.
And overall, like with these Tibetans, 5 Tibetans, I mean, we can talk for hours about the benefits and everything. And some people, they go and listen to it, they go and get hooked up on it this way. But at the end of the day, it's about you practicing and experiencing it yourself. And you don't really have to know how it all works.
Right.
If you know how to do it, it'll work anyway. Right?
100%. Thank you for taking what I said and made it that much crisper, because that really is what it's about. It's a life full of experiences. We don't remember the specifics. We just remember the crap, and we want to live a life where we are more invested in remembering the good. Yeah. That's beautiful. This is so beautiful. And we don't have to know as much as we know. We need to feel as much as we can feel and be good with that. Love it. Embrace it. It's funny, and it's a nice way to end. I was talking with more than a couple people, like, well, what else, being a post-50 person, meaning in age, is, so what do you want for your 2.0, your second chapter of life? What's your bucket list? What do you want to do before you die? And in this conversation, those weren't my exact words, but I really said, you will never hear me say that again. We do not want to focus on what we haven't done, what we want to collect, where we want to go. We need to spend all of our time and put all our energy in focusing on creating the opportunities so we can feel what it is that we want to feel. We want to feel love. We want to feel connection. We want to feel like we have righted the wrongs of the people we have crossed. We want to feel alive and vital. We want to feel received. That is what we are going to remember when we transmute into whatever we transition into next, whether we understand it or not. And that's what I've dedicated my life to. And there aren't words for that. There aren't the same. There's not the same vocabulary for experiences, for what they feel like to you, for what you hold. And to me, that is the pursuit of true happiness, is where your life feels good, even if not perfect, even if not acquired all the things you want to acquire, and you're missing something, that the sense of the body feels good, that it's a state of being. It's not an emotion. be used as an emotion, but it isn't just an emotion. It's an action, it's a choice, but happiness is a state of being. And I want my body and my mind, which to me is body. Mind is body in my mind. There's brain is a brain. Mind is all of my felt experience coming in through my sensory, being interpreted through my memory. You know, how I identify it as overall feeling good. Feeling good in the skin that I'm in. Thank you, Tibetan Rites, and thank you, Elvis, for helping me clarify me every single freaking time. And I'm sorry that the world will not listen to us talk about esoterics, but we are not allowed to, clearly.
You'll make it work at some point.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Maybe you'll have to, I don't know, maybe we'll have to be live. We'll have to get you to America.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully one day I'll going to be able to come over.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Come teach some of your fascinating calisthenics and some of your fascinating, all of your stuff is so hybrid. No pun intended. It is really an amalgamation, a collaboration of so many different ideologies, you know.
Well, that's why I'm thankful to Bruce Lee, basically. You know, when I found him, that was a big turning point for me. Because his philosophy was, use what is useful, reject what is not, and add what is essentially yours.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing ever since.
Well, that clearly is the motto of this entire podcast. Make it work.
Pretty
Make it
much.
work for you. Make it work for you. Use everything you know. Awesome. Awesome. Phew. Awesome.
Great. Now, before, like I said earlier, before everything collapses on us, all this technology, let's just finish off. But you guys stay on, because we're going to show you how to do the Sixth Tibetan Rites. So,
you're doing the sixth one, by the way. You're doing
Sorry?
the sixth one.
Yes. Like I said, you can do 1, 3, 5. I'll do 2, 4, 6.
Oh, sure. Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm sending them to you right now.
Yeah.
People, have fun with them. Play with them. Do Bruce Lee. Make them your own. Just do them.
Exactly. Okay, it was great
That was
talking
awesome,
to you.
man. That was...
You're always welcome.
Shoo! That was beautiful at the end. That was beautiful. What you said was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Hello, everybody. So guess what? Today's the day we're going to learn the 5 Tibetan rites. I will walk us through the 5 different asanas, and together it becomes the rites. So the very first thing we want to do is get up, create some space in the room, and let's learn the very first rite. Okay, let's begin with Tibetan Rite number 1. Find a space, stand up. We're going to do this 5 times. Okay, our hands are going to come straight out to the side, reaching to the opposite walls, energized through the spine, long through the back of the neck, chin tracking down, eyes facing forward, looking for a spot on the wall to use as a spot or a drishti. We are going to go over the right shoulder 5 times. Each rotation gets an inhale and an exhale. So eyes lock in to your spot, your drishti. We're going to breathe in. We're going to circle over the shoulder. 1, keeping everything nice and calm. 2, 3, 'Now the arms come to the side, the eyes close. We rest here and take 2 cycles of breath. Inhale, exhale, feeling all of the feeling of the energy racing through the body. Look for the small movement, look for the excitement in the body. Then prepare yourself for Tibetan Rite number 2. Tibetan Rite number 2. Find yourself on the ground. Put yourself into corpse pose. Bring those shoulders back, tummy into the ground. And the very first thing as we learn this position is let's learn to just roll our neck
our chin to our chest, leaving our shoulders planted on the ground. Let's see if we have that range of motion. Just bring your chin to your chest. Everything else stays glued. Let's try that again. Just the chin to the chest. Wonderful. The next position we want to learn, or the next way we find our pathways, we want to see if we can bring our tummy into the floor and lift our legs up to a 90-degree angle and be able to control them on the way back down to the ground. All right, so let's bring our tummy in to the spine, into the floor, chin tucked, and let's breathe in and breathe out as we lift the legs. Great. So Tibetan Rite number 2 is the combination of those two moves, lifting the chin to the chest and bringing the legs up to a 90-degree angle. So let's try that together. We breathe in corpse pose, this flat position. Breathe in and exhale as we lift our head and our feet. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe out. You can hear my inhales. Now let's breathe out. Trying to make this as fluid as possible. It's a powerful move. Another cue that I like is thinking that my eyes can see my thighs, that my vision comes here. You're more than welcome to do this with your eyes closed. Exhale. When you finish your reps, whether you're doing 5 reps of Tibetan Rite number 2 or 21, take a moment here and do about 2 breaths of just feeling the energy. Let's try that. And let's prepare for Tibetan Rite number 3. Okay, we are going to do Tibetan Rite number 3. Find your space. What you want to do is create the structure first. So toes are curled under. You can see them right there. I'm going to tuck under my rump for structure. My hands are either going to be at my side or on my backside with my shoulders pulling back, having a nice open front of the body. The next thing I want to learn and practice is breathing in as my nose looks up, and breathe out as my nose points down. So it's going to go north and south. Inhale up, exhale down. So a real lengthening of the front of the throat and a real compression and contraction of the front of the throat. Next part of this is very simple. I want to allow myself to let the body do a back bend as I look up and inhale and exhale. A slight compression just to enrich and to deepen the contraction on the front and the lengthening of the back. So let's do our 5 together. Breathe, squeeze that bum bum, toes curled under if that's available to you, shoulders back. Let's breathe in. You can do it with your eyes open or closed. That was 3. Make the breath smooth and equal. Like the other 2 rites, come on down and take 2 breaths and experience the energy as it moves through the body. And for you women out there, especially us over the age of 30, 40, 50 and beyond, we're going to feel a lot of clearing or tightening at the throat. Keep it up. A little bit of discomfort here will go a very long way in helping us being able to communicate. Okay, that was Tibetan Rite number 3. Okay, Tibetan Rite number 4. This is kind of like a backwards bridge. We're going to start in the L position. So long, straight through the spine. Again, long neck, chin slightly tracking down, eyes facing forward, hands plant right smack at the hips, pulling that body backwards, bringing those scapulas together, having a nice bright chest, toes pointed up. And what we're going to do, make sure I can stay in this frame here. As I breathe in, I'm going to push into my hands, springing my body. Springing my body forward into a back bend, and the neck goes back just ever so slightly to what's available to you. Hips come up. Swing back, regain at the L position. It is more than okay to keep your chin down as you come back to L, so looking more like a C. Either are fine. So let me show you what this looks like. Remember, straight through the spine, lifting up, shoulders back, chest bright, hands into the ground. I'm going to start here with an inhale, and the exhale will jet me into that backward facing bridge. Here we go. Breathe in. Breathe in. Did you get that? Great. I'm going to show you a little more from the side this time. Hands down. Can you see my hands? Hands down, long through the spine, eyes facing forward, chin tracking down, so a nice long neck. Breathing in. Exhale. Pushing up through those hips. Breathe in. Exhale. Breathe in. Exhale. Breath nice and easy. Breathe in. Exhale. If you want to make it even a little more advanced, come onto the toes. Even maybe a little more with those shoulders back, brightening of the chest, head back. This truly begins to feel quite wonderful. And at the bottom 5, which is our routine today, our practice, 2 inhales. Tibetan Rite number 4. Okay, Tibetan Rite number 5. We're going to start on the floor. We're going to bring our body down and back into corpse mode with our hands by our shoulders. So I'm just going to show you this once before I go out of camera. All right, head down. So it's like I'm ready to do a push-up from a prone position. Okay, so what I'm going to do is push up through my body, shoulders back. So really find out where those shoulders are. Put your toes under and bring yourself up off the ground. You can almost bring your hips forward. Real up facing dog. So thighs are off the ground if you can. Shoulders are back if you can. Head up if you can. We're going to push into down dog. Bringing those hips back and up. Really stretching through the spine, tailbone tracking up. Bringing it back down to up dog. We're going to add the inhale. Inhale, exhale. Down dog. Push through those shoulders. Chest comes down. Inhale, bringing those shoulders back. View up, hips forward, tight butt, and exhale. Really bringing those hips up to the sky. Tummy in, long through the entire back chain. 2 more. Keeping that breath smooth. Use your hands and your feet to push and to balance. And at the end of this one, we're going to bring our knees in into a child's pose, a wide leg child's pose, down to the ground, allowing for our spine and our hips and our major joint compounds to recalibrate, letting our brain say, hey, time to relax. Let's take a couple breaths right here and just feel the body. So every other rite, we did 2 inhales and exhales. Let's take a little more time at the end of this Tibetan rite. And that is the 5th Tibetan Rite. Up dog to down dog, smoothing out the breath, really concentrating on the flow between up to down to up to down. And wherever your body is available and what is available or not available to you, make the adjustment accordingly to keep you safe so you can learn to be strong. Wonderful.
Alright, thank you very much for sticking till the end. Now that Marni has shown you all the 5 Tibetan rites, I'll show you the very last one, the mysterious 6th Tibetan. First of all, don't do this rite 4 hours before or after sex. The second thing you need to remember is stomach vacuums, including this one and some exercise from yoga, are best done on an empty stomach. That being said, this is how you do it. Stand with your feet roughly hip distance apart, bend your knees ever so slightly, and then tilt your pelvis slightly forwards, straighten up your lower back. Hands are on the side of your hips. Stand tall. Then take a deep breath in, and then you breathe out all the air out of your lungs. So there's nothing left, and you hold your breath. As you breathe out, you lean forwards, put your hands on your knees, and then once you have nothing in your lungs, as I say, you hold your breath, and as you straighten up, your hands go to your hips, and you expand your chest, relaxing your abdominal muscles. So you expand your chest as if you were to take a breath in, but you don't, which creates an under pressure in your belly and sucks your belly in. That's the stomach vacuum. You hold it for however long you can. For me it's usually 10-15 seconds, maybe 20. During that time, I want you to squeeze your perineum whilst you hold your breath, and then once you can't hold it anymore, don't force it too much. You simply relax your chest, collapsing it in, so you don't have the stomach vacuum anymore, and then you take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth, and that's the 6th Tibetan. Ideally you want to do it 3 times, this exercise, with a little bit of break in between each repetition, where you breathe deeply. So I hope you found this video and also the podcast I did with Marni helpful. I'll see you in the next one.